Hi and welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the basics around bankruptcy here in the United States. So let's get started. First off, I want to remind you that I am not a lawyer, so please don't take this as any type of legal advice. This is just a general video on some of the general questions that are asked around bankruptcies. And so this information is not necessarily perfect for you in your personal scenario. As always, please check in with a professional. What is a bankruptcy? A bankruptcy is the legal process in which businesses, individuals, municipalities, and local governments seek assistance with their financial obligations due to feeling like they are struggling with their current debt. It's a court proceeding in which assets and liabilities are calculated and then either, dependent on the type of bankruptcy, a plan could be made to then pay off those debts, a restructuring of debts, and in some cases, the discharge of debts. What are the types of bankruptcy? Well, technically there are 6 types of bankruptcies and each one goes by a number. So it's like a chapter number, and that's because it is a chapter in the bankruptcy code. So a chapter 7 is a liquidation bankruptcy in which your assets are sold or liquidated in order to settle your debts. If you want more information about a chapter 7 bankruptcy, I made a video here. The next type is a Chapter 9, and this one is reserved for local municipalities or local governments, and it allows them to continue providing services to their community while they figure out and restructure or reorganize their debts. But again, it allows them to continue operating. Chapter 11. This is a reorganizing type of bankruptcy, usually reserved for businesses. However, some individuals actually also qualify for a Chapter 11, and that's usually due to a complex needs in terms of the amount of assets, which is generally that they are involved in multiple businesses. So a Chapter 11 allows the company to continue maintaining and still run their company, but it gives them time to reorganize or restructure their current debt obligations. If you want more information about a Chapter 11, then see this video. Next up is a Chapter 12, and this one's reserved for family farmers or family fishermen in order to keep their farms or their fisheries operational while they figure out their debts. The next one is a Chapter 13, and this allows individuals to create a debt repayment plan, usually about 3 to 5 years, and allows them to not liquidate their assets, which is different than a Chapter 7. If you want more information about this type of bankruptcy, check out this video. Lastly is a Chapter 15, and it puts a framework for bankruptcies when there is a party involved that is not a United States citizen. So it is for cross-border bankruptcies, if that makes sense. Are there eligibility requirements in order to file? So the answer is kind of. Each chapter may have different requirements or eligibility. In some cases, if your assets are too large, or in other cases, if your income is too small in comparison to the amount of debt you have, etc. There is just too many ways in which that could be potentially. So as always, I recommend that you get in contact with a bankruptcy attorney in order to evaluate which type of bankruptcy is available to you and would be best in your personal situation, because if you have a lot of assets, if you don't have a lot of assets, etc., can dramatically change which one would be more beneficial. Do you have to liquidate all your assets? So no, even with a Chapter 7, which is where you liquidate assets, you do not actually have to liquidate all of your assets. On a federal level, there are some exemptions, as well as on a state level, there may be additional exemptions of different types of assets or classes of assets, or the amount of money and value an asset has in order to be protected. So it is different across the states, and therefore generally just note that federally there are some exemptions. You don't necessarily have to sell everything. Now, according to Section 522 of the Bankruptcy Code, the types of exemptions generally fall into 2 categories. The first is personal property exemptions, and the second is public benefit exemptions. What are some personal property exemptions? So really quickly, a note is that the numbers I'm about to give you is from 2023. It is potentially possible that they change in 2024 at different times. I'm not 100% sure. So just note that. So the first one is the homestead exemption. The homestead exemption basically protects the equity that you have in your primary residence up to a certain amount, in this case $27,900. Motor vehicle exemption. This is a federal exemption that allows you to protect one motor vehicle up to $4,450. However, in different states, it actually might be applicable to 2 vehicles, or it might have a higher car value amount. The wild card exemption. So this exemption allows you to protect personal property up to an additional $1,475. It also means that if you don't use the full amount of your homestead exemption, you can apply it elsewhere up to $13,950. Lastly is the household good exemption. So this is the one I wanted to bring up because a lot of people are fearful that they have to sell their furniture, their tools, etc., and that is not the case. So you can protect up to individually the items of value up to $700 individually, but you have a grand total of $14,875. What are public benefit exemptions? So these protections exist in order to cover certain guaranteed incomes that are to cover your basic needs. So think about Social Security, unemployment, veterans benefits, public assistance, and then alimony or child support. What about state exemptions? So as I mentioned before, there are a lot of states that have additional exemptions, usually for higher limits or allowing you to have more than one vehicle. And so in general, when you are applying for bankruptcy, you can choose between the federal exemptions or the state exemptions, whichever one is better for you in the case. In most cases, in most states, you can pick between the two. And so that is something to consider. And of course, again, talk to your attorney because they will give you a better idea and will run your numbers and make sure that you get the most benefit of filing this type of legal proceeding. Are retirement accounts protected? Generally, yes, most retirement accounts are fully protected, but there are a couple of limitations. So let's talk about it. ERISA, E-R-I-S-A, stands for Employee Retirement Income Security Act. This act protects retirement accounts set up by employers to provide the benefit of retirement to their employees. So some accounts that will qualify under the ERISA is a 401k, a 403b, pension plans, profit sharing plans, SEP IRAs, and simple IRAs. Now, in terms of traditional IRAs or Roth IRAs, there is an exemption cap. So there is an amount of money within those accounts that is protected, and then the amount of money past that amount is generally available as unprotected and therefore could potentially be required of you withdraw funds from in order to cover your debts. In 2023, this amount that was protected up to was $1,540,000, and that's the amounts within those accounts that is fundamentally protected. In a Chapter 7, which is the liquidation type of bankruptcy, those ERISA accounts are protected, and then in a Chapter 13, again, those ERISA accounts are protected. There is the potential of within your repayment plan that you have to do a withdrawal if your retirement accounts is high enough. Another thing to consider is that dependent on the state you file bankruptcy, there may be additional exemptions based off a state level that may be beneficial. What is the credit score impact for filing bankruptcy? Filing bankruptcy is going to negatively impact your credit score, and it could drop it by quite a bit of points. In some cases, if you already have bad credit, it's not going to lower it past more than what you currently have. In some cases, if you had really good credit, then it will significantly impact your score. So it kind of depends on the situation that you are in prior to filing for bankruptcy. Generally, a Chapter 13 will affect your credit score in a less impactful way than a Chapter 7 because a Chapter 13 has a repayment plan. So as long as you stick to the repayment plan, then the duration of the effects negatively is lesser than if you file a Chapter 7. What type of professionals might you need when you consider filing for bankruptcy? So again, bankruptcy is a legal process, so you need a bankruptcy attorney, a bankruptcy lawyer to help you out and file for you on your behalf to the bankruptcy court. Now, it's also generally advisable that you have an additional team of other professionals in order to really evaluate your current conditions to see if it is beneficial. Your bankruptcy attorney may have a referral list for you, or you may already have some of these professionals in your life. So additional professionals to consider when filing for bankruptcy are a financial advisor or an accountant. Is generally more when people have businesses, but there are some families who use CPAs when they file their taxes, and so they may already have a connection and somebody who already knows their current situation in terms of taxes and income. Some bankruptcy attorneys may also refer you to credit counselors if they think that there is a way to prevent you from going into a bankruptcy. There is also the possibility of business advisory consultants if there is a possibility that you just need some minor tweaks in order to become more profitable, etc. So again, having a really trustworthy bankruptcy attorney who will guide you in the right way is something that is beneficial. Some other potential team members that you might need would be a real estate appraiser, because if you are going through a Chapter 7, which is a liquidation, then if you have additional properties, you may need to show the amount that your assets are potentially worth. For people who have businesses, you may also need a tax lawyer or an employment lawyer if there is certain things that might be potentially incorrect and may be causing you higher than usual tax implications, etc. Essentially making sure that you have a team of experts who can really look at your situation in a bunch of different angles to come up with the best plan for you is obviously the most beneficial. How long is a bankruptcy? So generally the process from file to close takes about 6 months. However, if you have a Chapter 13, then it generally takes the 6 months plus either the 3 to 5 years, dependent on your debt repayment plan. So some further resources for information, I'm gonna link their links down in the description below, just because it's kind of a pain to put it on the screen. But you can check the American Bar Association, because again, it's a legal procedure. You can check out the United States Courts website, because they actually have a section that is dedicated towards bankruptcies. Lastly is the National Foundation for Credit Counseling, and they have a bunch of resources there available for you. So yeah, that's the basics around bankruptcy in general. For the chapters that I mentioned that I will have a video up, they are coming, so if you don't see them linked right now, it's because they are slated to be coming out in the next couple of weeks, and as soon as they are public, they will be linked in this video as well, and I'll also drop them in the description just to make things a little bit easier. So if you have any questions or you want to say hi, please drop it in the comments down below. It's just me, so any response is actually me, and I look forward to answering any questions or just saying hi. If you are a subscriber, thank you so much for tuning in again, and if you are not a subscriber, please consider subscribing if you found this video helpful. As always, please give this video a like and share it with a friend. This channel goes over personal finance topics. I try to explain them and give you just general information, and then I also cover my personal debt story. So if you're interested in videos like that, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!